is nutrition in animals. All kinds of organisms need food to live. While plants are autotrophs and make their own food from the surroundings, and whereas the animals are heterotrophs that they depend on plants or other animals for their food. There are different modes of nutrition and there are different modes of feeding habits of animals. For example, the animals which filter feed, for example ducks, they have holes in their beaks to remove the water, and in this way they filter the water from their food and eat it. And there are also many modes of nutrition such as omnivores, carnivores, and herbivores. Herbivores are the animals that feed only on plants. For example, deer, goat, and buffaloes. Carnivores are the animals that feed on only flesh. For example, tigers, leopards, and cheetahs. And omnivores are the organisms that feed on both flesh and plant organisms. For example, vultures. They feed. For example, sparrows. They feed on dead insects such as ants, and they also feed on fruits. And digestion in humans. Digestion is a very complex process that includes various various functions of many body parts. And the food we eat contains a complex set of substances like carbohydrates, proteins, vitamins, minerals, and many others. And these substances cannot be used by our body directly. The digestive system is a system that makes the complex substances simple substances, and thus it will be able for our body to utilize these substances. The organs of our human digestive system are mouth, esophagus, stomach, liver, pancreas, gallbladder, and the large intestine. These all organisms work together, and they perform their functions and help us to digest our food and utilize the food. The first digestive organ is the mouth and the buccal cavity. The mouth is a body part through which we put our food in. The food enters our body, or the food is ingested to our body. Buccal cavity is the area between the teeth and the cheek. The mouth contains saliva, and the saliva contains amylase. Amylase is a digestive juice that helps to break down food into simple substances. Carbohydrates are broken down into simple substances, but still it cannot be used by our body. Next, the food that is partially digested goes down into the stomach. In the stomach produces hydrochloric acid and gastric juice, which helps to acidify food, and the hydrochloric acid acidifies food. But the walls of the stomach, which are protected with a lining of mucosa, which produces mucus and thus protects the stomach from burning away. Next, the food that is partially digested is put into the small intestine, and the juices excreted by the liver and the pancreas are stored in the gallbladder temporarily. The liver produces bile juice, and the pancreas produces the pancreatic juice. Liver helps to digest carbohydrates, and the proteins also helps to digest the pancreatic juice also helps to digest proteins and the carbohydrates. After the juice is stored in the gallbladder for a temporary period, when the food enters the small intestine, the gallbladder releases both of the juices, and in the small intestine, the digestion is completely taken place. And the walls of the small intestine are lined with a finger-like projections called villi. Villi are richly supplied with blood vessels because the digested food of our body, amino acids, which are the building blocks of proteins, and glucose, the simple substance of carbohydrates, and fatty acids, the simple substances of fatty acids, and many others get absorbed by these villi. And after these villi absorbs our digested food, it sends to all our other parts of our body. Now, our mouth also takes a major place in the digestion. Only saliva and the amylase cannot perform the digestion. We also need something tool to break down the food and to tear or cut food. And teeth help us to do them. There are 4 types of teeth. They are canines, incisors, molars, and premolars. Incisors are the front 4 teeth which have a sharp edge, and they are used to bite or cut food into small pieces. They are present in both of the jaws, upper and the down and the lower jaw. And next are the canines. On each side of the incisors is a sharp pointed tooth called as a canine. It is also present in both the jaws, and canines are used to hold and tear food. Next are the premolars. Premolars are present. The premolars are two teeth present on each side of the canines on each jaw. Premolars are used to grind food. And next comes the molars. Molars are grinding and crushing teeth. They perform both the functions. There are 4 teeth present on each side, upper and the lower jaw. These teeth are used to tear, crush and grind food. The digestion of carbohydrates present in the food begins in the mouth, as I said. So in the mouth, the teeth, the saliva and the amylase work together to digest the food. And how does the food go to the stomach? There is a long pipeway called as the esophagus, or it is also called as the food pipe. And after the food enters the esophagus, it is carried to the stomach and deposited there to become acidified. And the stomach acidifies the food. And what is the small intestine? As I told, small intestine is a long narrow tube with various wrinkles and strings all below our stomach. The small intestine plays a very major role in digestion, as the digestion completes its taking place in the small intestine. And let us speak about the simple substances and complex substances of food items. A complex substance is a carbohydrates, and its simple substance is glucose. And protein simple substance is amino acids, which are building blocks of proteins. And fats are broken down into fatty acids, which are the simple substances of fats. And absorption of assimilation of food. As I told that willy absorbs the food and it is utilized by the body. It is known as absorption and assimilation of food. Absorption is the taking of food into the willy, and assimilation is the utilization of the food by our body. And the large intestine. What is the large intestine? After the digestion is completed in the small intestine, the leftover food is carried into the large intestine. It is a large and a broad pipeway, and in which the excess water in the food is absorbed. And after the leftover food, which is half wet and half dry, is carried to the excretory system, where it is taken away from the body. This is the digestive system in the humans. Now let us talk about the digestive system in animals. Digestive system in grass-eating animals. Grass-eating animals and herbivores such as cows, deer, goats, buffaloes, and many others can digest cellulose, a kind of carbohydrate present in grass and leaves. This is because these animals have specialized digestive system. They have a 4-chambered stomach, and the 4 chambers are rumen, omasum, abomasum, and reticulum. These organisms eat quickly and store large amount of half-digested food in the human, where it softens. And after storing it for several hours, they again bring back it to the food and to chew it again several times. Now, the chewed food is known as the cut, and the chewed food has to travel to 2 other chambers before reaching the 4th chamber of the stomach. And in these 2 chambers, huge amounts of saliva is produced, through which the food is again digested into simpler substances. And the rest of the digestive system is the same as the humans, and the digestion also ends up in the small intestine, and afterwards it is excreted out of the body. And the and the animal that chews the cud or eats the food several times is called as a ruminant. So all kinds of grass-eating animals such as cows, deer, goats, buffaloes, and many others are also called as ruminants. So we eat our food and get energy, we say. But how do living organisms obtain energy from their food? This is a question. In animals, glucose produced by the carbohydrates reaches to every cell of our body through the blood. And in the cell, the glucose is broken down in the presence of oxygen, and during this process, energy is released along with carbon dioxide and water. This total process is known as the cellular respiration. This is how we obtain energy from our food. And the chemical equation for cellular respiration is glucose plus oxygen is equal to carbon dioxide plus water plus energy. And finally, we will also discuss the digestive system in a microscopic unicellular thing. Let us take an example, for example, as amoeba. Amoeba is a microscopic unicellular thing or an organism with only one cell, and it lives in freshwater puddles and mostly feeds on remains of dead plants. Even though it is a very small organism, the feeding habits are just the same as in the humans. The steps are: the amoeba senses the food particle, moves towards it and engulfs it. And after it is engulfed, a food vacuole is formed around the food particle, which contains digestive juices. And the digestive juices break down the food into simple substances, and it is absorbed and assimilated by the body. And after that, the leftover food is removed from the body. These are the steps of digestion in unicellular microscopic things. These are the same as in the humans. By this, we come to the end of our lesson.